Audience.
Hi, Mom. Hi.
Have you guys ever been somewhere where you feel like you've actually traveled in time? Well, I grew up in a place like that. I grew up somewhere where you could walk from one end of the street to the next and feel like you traveled 50 years in the past. That street for me was called Spring Street, and it's located in Jeffersonville, Indiana. I grew up there, and if you guys don't know where that is in southern Indiana, right across the river from Louisville, Kentucky, if that gives you guys any perspective. Jeffersonville has kept up its traditional values from the past with some main attractions that it has, and I'll be discussing those with you today. My main points will include the Colgate clock and its addition to Jeffersonville's industrial background. I'll be discussing Shim's confectionery and how it gives to the education of the youth. I will be talking about Thunder over Louisville, which attracts thousands of people over the Kentucky-Indiana area. And then I'll also be discussing the recent renovations in my town, including the construction of the Big Four Bridge. First, we have the Colgate clock. It was given to Jeffersonville from New Jersey in 1924. It is the second largest timepiece in the world. The Colgate factory actually bought a prison. It was called Southern Reformatory, and it was one of the harshest prisons in our area in the Midwest. It was known for using the tactic of isolation to punish prisoners that didn't fall in line or didn't show up in time, things like that, and that had very harsh psychological values. However, the factory was purchased for profit for the Colgate owners, but its long-term benefits included prison reform, where that tactic was taken out of most prisons because they saw the long-term effects. And actually, some of the prisoners who cooperated got to help build the factory and put in the clock, which gave them the resocialization into society. In 2006, the clock was placed on the Historic Landmarks Foundation of Indiana's most endangered landmarks list because it was not renovated or it wasn't kept up with over the years. It remains on that list, and it remains to deteriorate in Jeffersonville, but it still stands for prison reform and the industrial background that Jeffersonville has to offer. Next, we have Shim's Confectionery, and it is a candy store. It's a candy store and a museum, and it's definitely a sweet treat to visit. It was opened in 1891 by Gustav Shim, Jr. and Sr. It's famous for its Red Hots, but also its caramel candies. It helps to educate the youth. I've been there on I don't know how many field trips, and you can see how the candy is produced and how candy has developed through the ages. One of my better memories from my childhood at Shim's Confectionery is seeing the caramel being folded and made and then cut into little pieces, and then, of course, eating it, because that's the best part. But the education it provides is not only about the candy, but also about the town's survival and how we have survived 2 floods in the last century. One was in 1929 and the other in 1942. The store outside actually has markers to how high the river was and how high it flowed in the town. And I remember being like a little 5-year-old in Shim's Confectionery and it being thousands of feet above my head, and I could just never imagine how it stayed there. But it's been open since 1891, hasn't closed once. That also leads itself to the construction of the flood wall, which brings me to my next point, which is Thunder over Louisville. I've spent many years watching Thunder over Louisville from the flood wall. Thunder is a fireworks show that is 2 weeks before the Derby, because the Derby takes place in Louisville, Kentucky. It happens every April. It's a fireworks show to the music of Led Zeppelin originally, but now they're starting to do like your top 40 charts or more popular music. It attracts thousands of people from all over Indiana and Kentucky. There are 2 places you can go. One is the Louisville side, where they have the fairgrounds, and the other side is Jeffersonville. And I'm always in Jeffersonville, and it's famous for its food. It's caramel apples, it's shaken lemonades, and it attracts lots of like young people. And so it's definitely the thing to do every year. Lastly, I have the renovations recently, which include the construction of the Big Four walking bridge, which unites the Louisville side and the Jeffersonville side together. We have our Kennedy Bridge, which is for transportation, And this bridge is just for walking. So you can literally go from one state to the next just by walking through it. And it's definitely added to our aesthetics. Downtown Jeff is known for being kind of run down, but now it has lots more to offer. They repainted, they have renovated fairgrounds and playgrounds, and it's definitely a sight to be. The construction is scheduled to close in 2020, and then I think it'll definitely be on the map for a tourist attraction. So today I have discussed with you just some of the few neat and interesting attributes that Jeffersonville, Indiana has to offer. And I hope that has given you all insight into where I grew up and part of who I am today. Thank you guys.